As we prepare for tomorrow's election, supporters of Amendment 5 say it will put billions back in taxpayers' pockets. But opponents call it a blank check that could tax things like real estate transactions. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon looks into the fine print.
Amendment 5 would allow lawmakers to implement new sales taxes to replace the state income tax. The governor tells me he does not want to see certain things taxed, but those exemptions are not outlined here in the text.
Buying and selling a home, such a basic thing in life, and an aspirational American dream for families and individuals who are very hardworking. And Amendment 5 would make that farther out of reach.
Scott Sharton and the Missouri Realtors are standing against Amendment 5, saying it could tax things like real estate transactions. The plain language of the amendment, though, says nothing about exceptions, just that lawmakers can impose taxes on transactions involving any goods and services. But Governor Mike Kehoe tells me there are some taxes he will not stand for.
Putting $9 billion back into Missourians' pockets every year, the average Missouri family would be about $3,000. So we think Missourians can spend their money better than elected officials can.
So the critics, I'm sure you've seen, have been calling it an everything tax. Are there services that you think should be off limits to taxing?
We've been very clear, as long as the General Assembly has said that we wouldn't affect anything that has to do with agriculture, with health care, or with real estate. And I know I joined the members of the General Assembly in saying that, that we will stick to our word on that.
But Sharton says the governor's word isn't good enough of a guarantee.
Governor Kehoe may have had good intentions about wanting certain exceptions for certain things, but the legislature didn't give him that.
Missourians have until 7 p.m. Tuesday to vote on Amendment 5 and 3 other statewide constitutional amendments. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon.